I love community. I love being a part of community. And Josh, as we were just singing that song, I couldn't help but think how much I miss us just being together singing that here in this space. I have so many great memories of singing in community here, but also at camp. I've spent a lot of time at Camp Swatara for many years. I've been a part of a lot of different communities. I was a volleyball coach, and that was a community in and of itself. Spending time at camp with family and friends, church. Community is really important. And there's something that I love about it, and I'm curious, what do you love about community? What is it about being together with other people and sharing some things in common that are important and valuable to you? And to all the kids at home, maybe you can think about different communities that you're a part of. Maybe you think about your school community, your classroom. Maybe you think about sports teams that you're a part of, or your family, or your church, or some other organization that maybe you participate in regularly. Communities are important to our lives, and you have a role to play in your own communities, in your church community, in your school community. Community is just made up of a bunch of different individuals coming together and working together. So think about what your role is in communities. Also, communities overlap. Some are small. You may have some friends who are on a sports team, but also in your classroom, or some that are in your church. And so we have different opportunities and different experiences to be a part of different communities. Oftentimes we're floating between them and we don't stay in one community always. Sometimes we consider ourselves to always being a part of a community, maybe a town or a neighborhood. You know, I'm reminded about time that I spent at camp. It's one of the most perfect examples of community that I can think of. But one of the things about camp is that, and what makes it special, is you don't stay there forever. You don't live at camp. Now, some of us got to live at camp, but I can tell you that it really isn't that great when other people aren't around. What makes camp special is you. What makes church special is you. It's your willingness to come together and be a part of something that's bigger than just yourself, but bringing your whole self to that community and contributing. One of the things that I always liked to tell campers at the end of a week, and it took me a while to understand this. It was many years after I was a camper when I was on staff, but I would try to tell campers that this is a special place, but it doesn't have to stay here. What makes camp, and indeed what makes church so wonderful, is that we're able to take it with us when we go. We only spend a little bit of time together each week on a Sunday morning, and yet the way that we understand our faith and the way that we understand our community means that it acts out in our lives all week long. And that was something special about camp too. We loved that place, we loved being community, and people are always so sad to leave. But we needed to be reminded that what made camp so special wasn't the location. It was the love of God and our commitment to one another. And that couldn't be contained by just a geographic space, by an archway, in the same way that this building or even this live stream doesn't keep church closed in. So I would encourage you to think, as we think about community, that we remember that communities aren't perfect. They're made up of infallible people. We all make mistakes. But we try to come together and do something. So as we think about community this morning, as we think about how we can be better at community with one another, I encourage you to think about the different communities that you're a part of. Your classroom, your sports teams. What role do you play? How can you contribute positively to those communities? And importantly, when you're not a part of that community, how has that community impacted you as you go out into the world? So you see, the value of community isn't necessarily what you always do together, but what you can do apart, and how that community impacts you as a person, as a whole person, not just when you're with your small team or your camp or your church, but how you do it in the world together. So what can you do to be a part of this community and to be a part of all the communities that you're a part of when you're with them and when you're away from them? Let's think about that this morning.